Everybody, it's good to see you. This is the mask that my mom made. We love the Justice League at my house, and so she made this, a couple other ones. Every one of the family has their own character. We have the Flash, Aquaman, Batman, Wonder Woman, all those. It's great. I'm not going to wear it the whole time, but I thought you'd like this. You merely adopted the darkness. I was born in it. I don't know if you know. Dark Knight? No, it's fine. Somebody do. I'm just kidding around. This is what I wear when I go out in public. Hi, guys. It's really good to see you. I don't know if you know this, but my family and I, we moved about to the edge of the world, basically. We live on the border of Canada and the United States in International Falls, Minnesota, which is the coldest place in America. And so it's really, it's like 5 hours from everything. So I don't know if you know this, but last year, I just put the word out that I had stopped traveling and speaking. And one of the biggest hits for me was not being able to come to Source and Summit. I've gotten to come the last 3 years in a row, and I just stinking love it. I just to see all you lunatics down in Indiana is just great. And I was really bummed that I didn't get to. And then this whole zombie apocalypse happened, and they got a hold of me, and they're like, "So can you come now because it's digital?" And I was like, "Why are you talking like that, Mary?" I'm just kidding, Mary Shetler. Anyway, she doesn't talk that way. I make fun of the way she talks because she doesn't have a weird way that she talks, and so I always make a new way to make fun of her. Anyway, so I'm really glad to get to be a part of this. I'm also, and I don't have this huge thing to say or whatever, but I'm really excited because I get to talk about something that is a part of my life. Oh, by the way, that reminded me, you should probably be wearing a mask because just because if you're close enough to your screen of 6 feet, then you're up a creek. I got tested for COVID. I haven't had the results yet, but it's pretty bad. I mean, I did get tested. I haven't had the results yet, but the cough just happened. I don't know. I'm just gonna take a drink of this. Anyway, because I don't want to cough the whole time. It'd be embarrassing. So anyway, I was excited to get to talk about this because this is something that is actually a huge part of my life. So first of all, hi, we'll get that out of the way. Second of all, it's a weird time that we're in right now. All of us, I'll bet none of us have ever been in this. In fact, I was noticing some of the kids' schoolwork came home. One of my 3 kids, I have 5 kids, but 3 of them are in school. And I think I did 10 right there. I have 5 kids. Anyway, one of their homework assignments was kind of like a time capsule, like just taking stock of what's going on right now because, years down the road, they'll talk about this. This is a worldwide pandemic that shut everything down. And we don't know at this point when I'm recording this, we don't know how far reaching the effects are. But we do know that this has been a unique time for the first time in all of our lives where things have just shut down. Where the normal things that we would rely on just on our daily lives, like just sports and parties and school and church and family gatherings, all of it, like even as far as saying like to the mass, it all has been taken from us. And so we're all kind of at a loss on so many different levels. And there's a ton of good talks and stuff on the internet. But what I want to address specifically is, so there's the social side of things where you and I we're used to going out, like go to a movie or something, and we're used to just interacting with people out and about. In Minnesota, it's like that everywhere, but Minnesota has got this thing, man. Sometimes you get snagged, you say hi to somebody and like, okay, I just committed to an hour and a half here in the fruit juice aisle because we have to talk. And none of that's happening now. So on the social side, on the personal side, that's different for all of us, and I know that. But what hit me most, and what I get to talk about today, is just more the outreach side of things. If we are one in the spirit, if we are one body, how do we remain so when we're like actually truly separated, when we can't get together? How are we supposed to go about that? And then at the end of every mass, the priest says something to the effect of, I think there are 4 possible options he can say, but they're all to the effect of, the mass is ended, go. So mass is ended, go in peace. The mass is ended, go, glorifying the Lord by your lives. But they're all in, mass comes from like the missio, like to be sent, like on mission. So we receive, we become one with Jesus, and then we're told, go, like take that out. Well, how are we supposed to do that? Most of us aren't even allowed to receive the Eucharist right now. Most of us, and that's, there have been times in church history where they've, gone decades and a couple hundred years where nobody was receiving the Eucharist. And so that part is not new. But what do we do with this sudden weight of time that we have on our hands every single day? How are we supposed to live as one? Now, so you have this verse in John that is like one of the central themes to this weekend, to the Spirit and Truth thing, is that there will come a time, and it's here now, when my followers will worship in spirit and in truth. What is that supposed to mean? And so we could take a second and just talk about spirit and in truth. So does that mean they're going to be like totally spiritual people? This is a huge pet peeve of mine, because we've all known people who are like, well, I'm more like a spiritual person. And I don't know if I'm not sure why my eye did that, but I'm just a spiritual person. I had like Bell's palsy there, a little seizure. But like that, if you've ever heard somebody say that, that really like grates on my nerves, because I just want to slap them in their spiritual face, because you can't just be a spiritual person. Nobody is a spiritual person, because God didn't intend it that way. He made us spirit body composites. We are a spirit infused with a body. The only way to be truly just spiritual is to die, because that's when you get separated from your body. And even that, the wages of sin is death. So death is a result of sin. So God never intended that separation in the first place. He wanted us to be one. He wanted us to be in the flesh. But flesh gets used in a couple different ways in Scripture. And so, there's references in the New Testament, well, Paul especially is talking about like there's that war going on inside the flesh, like the ways that crucify the flesh, things like that, where the idea that there's this bad part of us, and it gets used, the term flesh gets used, yes, but it's not, it's more like the weak parts of our heart, like the dark parts of us that want to do what we know we shouldn't. That's just a quick way to, so that's a negative connotation of the flesh. But we are also, though, as Catholics especially, we are supposed to be the most infleshed people that exist in this world, because that's what, when God wanted to make things right, what did he do? He took on the form of flesh. He didn't just like joke. He didn't just like show up in like this wispy little spiritual thing, just like Tinkerbell, a lot like Tinkerbell, but even she was like in physical form, but like something that just whisked by and be like, just be nice to people. Just be good. Just be kind. He doesn't do that at all. He came in the flesh. And what did he do? Actually, in the body, the most spiritual human being who ever existed, the God-man, the hypostatic union, Jesus, this man walked around, and what did he do? He didn't just say, I spiritually bless you. What did he do? He healed the sick. He healed the lame. He raised the dead. He walked on water. He fed the 5,000. He did all of these things in the flesh, but through the spirit, like in the spirit, but through the flesh. He was fully infused with the Holy Spirit, but he was also fully man. And he walked around and he transformed the world, not just spiritually, but he did it in the spirit through the flesh. And so we're supposed to be like that. And so that's like at the end of Mass, that's what we're getting, is this encouragement. Listen, you just received the spirit body, like the blood, spirit, body, soul, and divinity. Was it blood, body, soul, and divinity? Yeah, right. Body, blood, soul, and divinity of the Lord. You just received all of it, the entirety. All platforms in you. No, go and do that to the world. Receive the Eucharist in you and bring that power to the world. So that's what we're supposed to do in the flesh. That's what we're always supposed to be doing. So when we're at our sports games, when we're at Mass, when we're at church, when we're at family gatherings, we're in the grocery store, we're supposed to be just like truly, and I challenge you to try this. If they ever let us out of our closets again, then try this. When you go to the grocery store, actively find a way to reach out with your life. Now, you don't need to like stand on the milk carton to be like, the Lord Jesus said. You don't have to do that, because that scares people a lot. Firsthand experience, I can tell you. But what you can do is seek out ways where God draws you to reach out to people. But right now is what we're talking about. Right now you can't. Right now, some of you are probably watching this on your own phone, like in your room. It's about as remote as you can get. And some of you are probably jerks, and so you're locked in your room. So you're on lockdown. And no, you're not a jerk. Your parents are. I'm joking. I'm just joking. Your parents are not jerks. It's just a joke, just in the moment. But what you can do is embrace this, because like I was saying, you will look back on this. There is never, I promise, your government is never going to again tell you, just stay at home with your family. Just stay there. don't do anything. That's not going to happen again. And that's what they have done right now. You and I are all on lockdown. We're doing this digitally because we can't be together. So what can we do? Because here's what God did do. And I don't know if you've thought of it this way yet, but what he did is he gave you suddenly this cleared schedule. And I can almost guarantee you'll never have this again in your life. He gave you a completely cleared schedule. You can't do sports. You can't go to movies. You can't do any of the hobbies you used to do that were out and about. You can't get out. So what are you supposed to do? Well, it's two things. One, my patron saint, John of the Cross, his fellow brothers, the fellow monks, he was a reformer, and he didn't like some of the corruption he saw, and so he was critical of them. And his fellow brothers beat him up, and they locked him in a stone closet for 9 months through the winter. And it wasn't big enough for him to lay down, even to lay flat. He had to stay curled, sitting. And they would go to bring him food, and they would open the door, and he would be on his knees, his eyes closed, in a state of bliss, praying the Our Father, just a smile on his face. In the freezing cold, in hunger, in abuse, he would just be there. Everything had been taken from him. And so for you, just on one note, nothing you're going through right now is comparable to that. I did a whole podcast on the fact that some of us may experience severe tribulation through this, severe trial, personal pain, personal loss. That might happen, absolutely. But you can know that people like St. John of the Cross are praying for you right now. They're praying for you in your loneliness. Now, you might be somebody who used to think, well, I need people, though. I need to be around people. You're probably finding out, wow, no, I don't. I don't need people like I thought I did. I don't need such and such. And that's one good thing to know. You actually, the only thing you need is Jesus. That's all you need. You need him, and he's with you in spirit. But here's the other side of things. What you can know is, in this cleared schedule, you know what he's given you? He's given you hours and hours a day as a gift. And when our hands are open and we receive something like that from God, what do we do with it? What can we do? You can just spend your entire day and night all like on this endless cycle on Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok, and you can do all those. You can. And Did I tell you that? I think I did. I've asked teenagers all around the country to stop calling it Snapchat and just call it just to do it, because it gets funnier every single time. Be like, hey, I sent you a message on and like, oh gosh, wait, on I didn't even get it. Sorry, I'll have to open my Anyway, total side note, but you should do that. Spread the word. It's no longer Snapchat. It's Anyway, you could spend around the clock just doing that, just doing those things, just wasting the. Now, I will say this. I have all of those things. I don't have I have it, but I don't use it. I have all the other ones, and I would say it's normal. Makes sense to 15 minutes a day. Check it out. Spend 15 minutes a day checking out all of them. I get it. Scroll through, see what's going on. But I would say anything after 15 minutes a day, you're just wasting the minutes you've been given. And you know it. If you ever got done with like an hour of just scrolling through, like your Instagram, just like, and you get done with an hour, nothing is different. Nothing has changed. You just remember less about life at that point. Then what you need to do at that point is, that feeling of, wow, I don't think I used that time wisely. Then you grab that and you change it. And so the next time, the next 15 minutes you have, you use them. And this is where we get to the crux of the matter. You suddenly, for the first time in history with digital media, you actually have the ability to reach out in a way that nobody ever has. And this is where we get to what has become huge in my life. You can tell I'm not the brightest person, and I don't have everything together. I'm not well put together. I just kind of just bumbling through life like a puppy dog, I think is what I am. Just, how are you? But what I have found is this. So I lived in China for 2 years. My wife and I worked there as teachers. And we had friends on our team who were way like 12, 14 hours north. They lived way up by the Gobi Desert in China. And there was just them and their family up there. They were doing a really good teaching job. They had a really good time up there. But they were lonely often. And so I had his number, and we were texting. And every once in a while, so the city we lived in had 7 million people. And there's always just people around, whatever. And I'd be walking to the store, walking to the meat market, the vegetable market, whatever, walking. And I'd be walking down the street, and just in the midst of this crowd, just Dave would pop into my head. Boom. I was like, oh, I wonder what Dave is. So I'd pray for Dave. Whatever's he going through, just pray for him right now. And then I'd send him a text real quick and just say, hey, man, just praying for you. And I'd send it off. And most of the time, I wouldn't get a response. It was just, and most people know me. If you've ever texted me, I have an NRN. So that means no response necessary. You don't have to. I'm not waiting for something from you. I just wanted to let you know that I'm praying for you. So I would do that. I don't even know how often it was. I don't know how common. But if he popped into my head, okay, hey, all right, he's here for a reason. Then I am going to pray for him. So then I would just say pray for him and send it off. And I do that all the time. And so at the end of our 2-year stint in China, they had a send-off where anybody going home gets, they do throw a big party. And so they had all these affirmations, and the night was almost over. And then at the very end, when everybody had said nice things, Dave was like, okay, well, can I say something? And we're like, yeah. And he said, I wanted to go last. I wanted to say this. Not many people know this, but Nick has been texting me over the last couple of years. He would just send me random texts. And he said, Nick, I never told you this, but every single time that you have texted me in these last 2 years, we have been in the midst of some kind of trial or crisis every time. He said one time, my father-in-law had come to visit China, and we had gone on a hike, and he had passed away. And his body was in the other room. And we are there grieving, and I get a text, and it's Nick saying, hey, I'm praying for you, man. Now, I had no clue. Like this was like 100%. That's no credit to me. There's no way you can brag about that because I'm just this bum. I'm just walking to the store, and it wasn't like this. And then a light shone upon me, and the voice of the Lord saith, "Text Dave." He didn't do that. Like, it was nothing. It wasn't a mystical moment. It was just, Dave's in my head. Okay, I'll just pray for him real quick because I had decided, okay, if somebody pops in my head, I'm going to pray for him. That's it. And every time it had happened, it had been a time that they were in need of prayer and encouragement. And I didn't know that. And he didn't even tell me, thank you, I really needed that right now. He rarely responded. But it wasn't about him responding. It was about reaching out to him. And it's weird because that ends up, that's the crux of my talk. That's the pinnacle of the talk there for you guys. This is what you can do in like an actual. So again, it's very spiritual because God knows. He knows what's going on in the world. He knows in every person's heart and life what's going on, in their loneliness, in their fear, in their brokenness. He knows what's going on. And he knows that if he knows that you're the type of person that he puts them on your mind and that you'll pray for them, then he will. And then you can reach out to them. Back in the day, you'd have to train a carrier pigeon and scroll and then put it on a scroll and then tie it to the bird's claw and then it would fly. And then by then the moment's passed. These days you can just immediately send it off. You can FaceTime if you know, like grandparents and the elderly are actually pretty scared right now because that's where the death rate is hitting right now. So reach out, get them on the phone, call them up, and I was praying for you. You popped into my head. I thought I'd get in touch. Let's talk. And that it seems so small, but I cannot tell you since I started doing that in my life, just that thing. And again, that's very small. Other than my thumbs are huge. Look at these thumbs. When I was a kid, they used to make fun of them. They were like, it looks like my friend used to say, it looks like your mom just beat it with a hammer over and over repeatedly as a child. And I was like, well, first of all, you're sick. And then second of all, yeah, they are pretty fat. And so texting, if you know me, I usually do these voice messages over iPhone because texting, my thumbs are so fat, it's like just gibberish. It just looks Russian. I don't know. People are like, what is this? Why are you sending this to me? But I call it speaking in thumbs because I have found that if God leads me to text somebody and they pop into my head and I send something, it has been for a reason. I mean, you can know this. Nothing is accidental. In your flesh, if someone pops into your head, you can either just believe that it's nothing, or you can receive that it's something. You can believe it's nothing, that it's just a nothing, go on with your day. And doing that, that's when you go in the weakness of the flesh, the weak side of fleshly life. Is being like, whatever, who cares? Let it go. I'm watching Netflix right now. Okay, this is this tiger guy, and I don't like. You can do that, or you can receive it as something, as a gift. Okay, the person that just popped into me, that came from, I wasn't thinking about that person, and God put them there, so I'm going to pray for them, and I'm going to reach out to them. And you have this gift right now because sooner or later, life is going to flood back in. And you could form a habit now that will last, that you'll actually find this habit will last with you. Because that was in 2004 that I started doing that. So 16 years ago, I started doing this where if someone popped into my head, I reached out to them immediately. And not waiting, I mean immediately. When I found out it happens most is when I do morning prayer. I'll do morning. I have this app, Pray Station Portable. And it's this guy who reads the liturgy of the hours, all of them through the day, and he sounds as if he has the driest mouth on earth, and then he eats peanut butter and then hits record. He's like that's what it sounds like. My wife's like, oh, I think you listening to that is a little bit of purgatory. And I'm like, well, maybe. But also, it's free, and it's morning prayer. So I do morning prayer every morning. And when I find out that in morning prayer is the time that people pop into my head the most. And it used to, here's what used to happen. Okay, I have my phone, I push play, I'm listening, and so-and-so, Mary, pops into my head. Okay, I don't want to forget. So I'll push pause, I'll write down, make fun of Mary's voice. Okay, and then push play, and then it goes back in. Oh, okay, so I'm going to here, write that down. And everything was broken up. And then I realized, actually, wait a minute. The time that other people are brought into my mind and heart the most is when I'm spending time with God. That can't be an accident. That seems more like God is being like, hey, it's cool to hang out. I mean, I'm glad that we're here together. Why don't we do something together? Why don't we reach out? From this time of prayer, why don't we just reach out to somebody? And then we would reach out. And so I decided I'm not going to write the names down because 9 times out of 10, you lose track, you forget, you don't get to anyway. But what I decided was, okay, in the moment, if this is me and him, I push pause and I text that person right then. I pray for them right then in morning prayer because I'm already praying. I'm offering them up, and then I reach out to them. And I can't tell you, countless, I've lost track of the hundreds of times in my life where I've texted somebody just off the cuff, like they popped into my head, and they have been like, how did you know to text me right now? Or, I can't believe you texted me right now. I'm going through this right this moment. Or I was just praying to God that I need some encouragement. Or this, or that. You wake up in the middle of the night, somebody pops into your head. Pray for them, yes, but send them a text. You could be like, well, I don't want to wake them up. But they might be up already. They might be up and alone and in need. And God knew if he woke you up, you'd reach out to them. And so the first of just ignoring it, that's like living in the weak side of flesh. But this is taking note in this body, in this spirit body composite, I'm going to live that integration. It's like the old school use of the word integrity. Integrated. I'm going to live integrity. I'm going to take that the Holy Spirit in me is in my flesh as well and is encouraging me to reach out. And so I can't just reach out spiritually. I can't just and hope that they get something. I'm in the flesh. I'm going to pray for them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And then I'm going to reach out with this amazing digital media that we have. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to send a text. I'm going to send a voice message. I'm going to send a Marco Polo. I've gotten really into Marco Polo, and I don't know if I should. I didn't mean to. Somebody sent me one, and I'm like, what's this app? And now I really like it because I can see people. It's more face to face, and I reach out. So I have a whole list. When I'm feeding the baby the bottle in the morning, I get my wife off to work, and the kids are eating breakfast, and I just sit there with the bottle, and I send off a bunch of Marco Polos to people. And it's been amazing. I'm praying for people. They're crying over the thing. I have people sending me Marco Polo saying like, hey, so I had this question about the faith, or I have somebody who's not Catholic and they were wondering this. Can I just forward your messages on so then I'll record a message to them and then it's insane. It's so fun. And what you're doing is not only are you using this time to reach out, but you're doing it in the flesh. And what happens is those weak parts of you, they start to disappear. And you become stronger and stronger in your relationship with Christ, in the faith. You become stronger and stronger and better and more bold at reaching out to people. It's crazy. It gets easier and easier. And then you find that because I listen to audiobooks all the time. I have plenty of time where the kids are, they're burning something on the other side of the house or, tying somebody up like the mailman with duct tape. And I'm like, well, okay, they're not done, so they can finish that. And then I'm over here just with my audiobook. And so I do listen to audiobooks. I listen to songs. But what I try to do is balance it with a certain chunk of my day is just, I'm not just going to waste the day away with entertainment, with distraction. I'm going to use these moments and I'm going to give them away. And it's incredible. Actually, I hope we look back at this time right now, this little time that we've had. I hope you look back at the however long till Indiana opens up again or wherever you happen to be listening to this. I hope you look back at this time and be like, no, that's when it started for me. That's when I started the habit of realizing I could reach out always in any place I can reach out. And it's so funny because it's as simple as that. If somebody pops into your head, reach out to them. And it doesn't have to be like, can we set up a time to have an in-depth conversation where we talk and we cry and we weep and we talk about lambs and flowers and we drink coffee? Like, don't worry. Don't try to do that. Just if they pop into your head, don't wait. Reach out then. If God pops into your head, talk to him. Pray with him. If an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend pops into your head, if a grandparent, if a relative, if your boss, if your parent, it doesn't matter. If someone pops in, and you know what? I pray for movie stars all the time. I pray for the musicians in my life, the music that has influenced me the most. I pray for those musicians all the time. They will never know me. They will never have any clue, but I pray for them. I used to pray for Osama bin Laden before he died. Just pray, reach out. When somebody pops into your head, if you see him on the news, if you like Trump or hate Trump, if you like the next guy or hate the next guy, whenever they pop into your head, whenever you see them in the media, pray for them. And if you have a way to, reach out to them. And you will see your life change. But more than that, as your life changes and that becomes a habit, you will begin to constantly, you will look back and be like, I've never slowed down. I reach out to people all the time, and these are the amazing stories. And I would say, if you can, get a hold of me on any of my like Instagram. I'm Nick the Idiot, Nick NIC_the_idiot. I think on TikTok, I only have TikTok because my family makes these dance videos. They're like, you should look at them. They're on my YouTube channel. They're great. They're these 30-second dance videos. I think I'm Nick Davidson on there. Twitter, I'm Nick Davidson1. Instagram, I'm Nick Davidson. So I just use my name a lot. But get a hold of me. If cool stories, when they start to happen, when you reach out to somebody and they're like, oh my gosh, how did you know to reach out to me? Let me know. I would love to have a list of those witnesses, those testimonies where that happened. So that's the encouragement. I'm glad to have gotten to be there kind of with you guys. I hope that you're well, and I do pray for you. And as you pop into my head, I will always be praying for you in this life and in the next. And I hope you have a good life. I'll see you on the other side.